What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Nesson Studios. Michaela Vernava, Andre Kachatourian here to talk a little UFC fight night. It's going down in St. Louis. First UFC event ever in St. Louis, so that is pretty exciting. A lot of other MMA, Bellator, Invicta goes on down there, but UFC finally coming to St. Louis, and we have headlining fight night number 9, Jeremy Stephens versus number 13, Dooho Choi. Andre, what are you expecting?
It just blows my mind that Dooho Choi is number 13 and Jeremy Stephens is number 9. Jeremy Stephens, if MMA fans probably best remember Jeremy Stephens as the guy who got owned by Conor McGregor at the UFC 205 press conference. He was the guy who said he was the biggest challenge for McGregor, and McGregor came out and said, "Who the bleep is this guy?" And that's just like an iconic McGregor quote now, and Stephens was the butt of that joke. Stephens has lost 5 of his last 8 fights. Somehow he's ranked higher than Choi, who fought in one of the greatest fights I've ever seen in the 2016 fight of the year against Cub Swanson. He lost in unanimous decision. But before that, he had won 12 straight fights, 8 straight knockouts. The guy is a devastating striker, 6 significant strikes per minute, highly active striker. It's going to be a very active fight. I don't think this is going to go the distance. I think Choi takes it, and I don't know why Stephens is still ranked higher than Choi.
I can agree with you on the rankings. As far as this fight goes, I think the fact that Choi hasn't fought in a year, I'm not sure how that's going to go. I feel like it's either going to benefit him or he'll have a little rust, because on the flip side, we have Stephens, who just fought in September, and he won by unanimous decision over Gilbert Melendez. So he's fresh, he's probably rearing ready to go, and since he is number 9, he's going to want to continue his climb in the rankings. So I see him coming into the octagon really fired up this weekend.
Stephens does have the advantage on the mat. I just don't know if he's able to get Choi to the mat. And another thing with Stephens is, against the biggest fighters, Cub Swanson, Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar, he doesn't beat the biggest fighters. He only beats like middle of the pack fighters, and I think Choi is very underrated. Probably the most underrated guy in that division. So he's out for a surprise. But I do agree with you. Choi's ranking is probably lower than it should be because he hasn't been very active.
That is a good point, because they are so similar in height, only an inch apart. Weight, obviously the same. But reach, an inch apart. Leg reach, an inch apart. So as far as getting him on the mat, that could be a challenge.
Yeah.
And so I do think the striking game is going to be what will carry this fight.
Yeah, I mean, you get too close to Choi, I mean, you might be knocked out on the floor. The guy can take a punch too, Choi can. In that fight against Cub Swanson, that fight of the year, it was remarkable how Choi was able to withstand all the devastating strikes. He took it to his face, he got knocked down, the guy's face was bloodied up, but he was able to last the whole fight. It was remarkable. So, I mean, I just don't see Choi losing this one. He is also the favorite on OddsShark.
Well, if that fight doesn't quite do it for you, doesn't quite have the fireworks in terms of just traction, maybe this will. Paige VanZant getting back in the octagon and moving to the flyweight division. Now, she hasn't fought in over a year now, when she lost to Michelle Watterson by submission. What are we expecting to see from her? Because this is a fighter who's really a big face of the UFC, even though we haven't seen her actually fight. And I know that that's been a complaint for a lot of people, is she's out on Dancing with the Stars, and she does have that Hollywood glam about her, that fame that comes along with her. But what do you expect to see from her when she is actually getting down to it in the octagon?
I don't know what to expect. We haven't seen her for a very long time, as you mentioned. Now she's fighting in the flyweight for the first time. The flyweight division is new in the UFC. I still think it's a huge fight for her. Obviously, she's making her long-awaited return to the octagon. But if she gets a nice victory here, because of her name, because of who she is, and because of how new the flyweight division is, Nico Montano, she is currently the women's flyweight champion. She got crowned champion in the Ultimate Fighter in December. So if VanZant gets a big win here, who knows? Dana White might put her up for the title belt in the flyweight, try to promote her as hopefully she wins the championship. It's good for the UFC to have a face like VanZant as the champion of the flyweight division. This could be good for her, a good brand new beginning for VanZant. So really, I don't know what to expect.
I absolutely agree with you. I think if the UFC could write their outcome, that they would want that.
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely.
You make a great point, because they're going to want to start promoting that new flyweight division as well. But I don't have a good feeling about it. We have her opponent, Jessica Rose Clark. Here's the thing. It's her only second UFC fight, but I think that that's going to benefit her. fresh. She's new in the UFC. She's going to want to continue to, I mean, she doesn't have much of a mark right now, and I think she's going to want to make her mark. She last fought just a couple months ago in November, so it's a similar situation to the Stevens Choi situation, where we have VanZant, who hasn't fought in so long, whereas Clark, she just fought a few months ago, and she doesn't have that fame. She has a lot to, I guess, not a lot to lose and everything to gain.
It's kind of like the Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes type of situation, where Nunes, everyone kept talking about Rousey, and Nunes was, not a lot of people were talking about her. She came out, she won that fight. I don't know if that's the same situation here, though, just because Clark, you know, that one win she has under her belt, it was a split decision victory. She missed weight going into the fight. I just see this as a situation where VanZant kind of is trying to take an opponent where she knows she can beat, get back on track, and possibly get a title shot in her next fight.
No matter what the weather, a lot of rainy days where she's out there just with a hooded sweatshirt on and pulling tires, flipping tires, just the stuff that she does is insane. And you think about the fact that, I mean, she's, 125 pounds, but she has been doing some seriously impressive workouts.
Absolutely. She looks focused. She looks ready to go. It's going to be exciting to see her fight. I'm excited.
All right. Well, next week we have UFC 220 here in Boston. That is going to be super exciting. We're going to have wall-to-wall coverage, so make sure to keep up with all your UFC news right here on NESN.com.